So we're live here for podcast number 1. Thanks all who are watching it. So I guess for podcast number 1, the main thing I want to do is kind of give everybody an idea of what this podcast is about. There's a lot of, kind of bullshit out there. There's a lot of different things. There's a lot of motivational stuff. There's a lot of financial stuff and stock stuff. And I think that one thing that's lacking is really a podcast that talks about sort of real business, small to mid-sized business, how to get started, how to have positive cash flow, how to get loans if you need it, how to get financing if you need it. If you're 20 years old, how to get started. I want this podcast to cover that. Am I going to have guests? I'm definitely going to have guests on this show. It's not going to just be me ranting. I'm going to have different guests from restaurant industries, club industries, hospitality industries, accounting firms, lawyers. The reason I wanted to do this first podcast on my own is I just want people to have a better idea of what they're getting themselves into when they come on here, because I'm not Mr. Corporate. I'm kind of self-made. I'm not, Mr. MBA, Mr. PhD. I say it the way it is. We're going to talk about real stuff. We're going to talk about real business. And eventually, as you guys have questions, I'm going to answer it. So let's talk now about the first podcast. And some of you that saw the promo for it before was perception versus reality. So here's the thing. Right now, in today's day and age, being an entrepreneur seems pretty trendy, really cool, really popular. Back in our parents' generation, it was doctors, it was lawyers, engineers. That was like the cool in. Everybody wanted to do that. Now in this new age, this generation, being an entrepreneur, a chef, that's a really trendy job right now. Stuff in fashion, bloggers, these things are super, super trendy and popular. Here's the issue. The issue is that too many people are getting into entrepreneurship for the wrong reason. They're starting businesses for the wrong reason. They're believing too much bullshit, too much hype. They're watching maybe too much motivational quotes. There's a couple things that people need to assess. One is owning a business for you? Because it might not be. You might not be well equipped to own a business. And 2, you need to understand what you're signing up for, especially when you're pushing your business forward and you're consistently always trying to grow. So first things first, is the business for you? Okay. And I've had arguments and debates with people. I'm probably going to have a bunch of people pissed off at what I'm about to say. But owning a business is not for everybody. You may not have the skill sets to own a business properly. And it's not being insulting. It's not saying that I'm better than somebody else. It's not saying that they're better than me. What I'm saying is I can go and try and practice and play basketball for all I fucking want. Forever. I'm never going to be as good as Michael Jordan. And don't get me wrong, I'm not considering myself Michael Jordan. But there's certain characteristics as an individual that you need as a business owner. There's certain things that you need to be able to overcome and go through. So what's very, very important is, 1, make sure that you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's. So what am I saying here when I'm saying don't believe the hype? Okay. Right now you have shows like Shark Tank. You got all these entrepreneurs out there, motivational speakers. These things are selling out for $300 a ticket. And people are going, you can do it, and you can do this, and you can do that, and everything is all exciting and blah, 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 blah. Here's the reality of business, okay? You start out, and I'm talking now to the individual or the people or the couple that's in their house. They don't have a lot of capital. They don't have investment. They don't have rich mommies and daddies to give them money, okay? And they're sitting there and they're like, do we start a business? Or we want to start a business. If you think you're going to have more free time because you own your business, you're wasting your time. Don't even waste your time starting a business if you think you're going to have more free time now. I cannot stand when people say, well, you're your own boss, so you don't have to ask people for permission. You're your own fucking boss. I've got over 1,000 clients. They're my bosses. I do have to answer to them. So right away to say, oh, you don't have bosses. Oh, you get to take longer vacations. I haven't taken a vacation in a year and a half. I've got a family. Vacations happen when things, maybe little periods of time you can get away. Here's the problem. When you own a business and you've got employees and staff and offices, when it gets quieter, meaning the holiday season, maybe summer a bit, you don't want to leave because you need to make sure that things keep rolling. You need to make sure that sales keep happening. You need to make sure that production keeps up. So when everybody else gets to relax and say, you know what, I'm going to take 2 weeks off, a week off. No, you have to stress to make sure you keep everything at the optimum level. And when it's busy, well, I don't need to explain to you if it's busy what you need to do. You need to be here to make sure you manage stuff. So it's very, very hard to find that sweet spot of when to leave. And when you leave, you're glued to this. None of this bullshit of, oh, I'm going to turn off my phone and, we're going to just do. That's shit. That's bullshit talk. You keep your phone with you because your life is invested in the business. I don't have the luxury to go sit on the beach in my underwear and tan and not have to worry about anything. The phone rings, I answer it. Is the nature of the beast. So right away, if you're okay with giving up free time, giving up some vacations, okay, now your first step is done. If you think you're going to be like those guys on Shark Tank and that's a show. It's shit. If you think you're going to be like all these reality bullshit, it's bullshit shows. It's not real business. Real business is something very different. So now, how do you get started? You're getting started with a business. Let's say you're starting by yourself. One person. I'm not saying that a one person enterprise is not a business. It absolutely is. 100%. But there's a big difference when you need to make 50, 60, 70 rand, whatever it is a year, and you're doing the work yourself, to when you start having employees. The minute that you start hiring people is the minute that your expenses absolutely inflate. They go from something that's very easy to manage to something that's a lot harder to manage. So growth in itself is going to start giving you more and more stress and more burden. What else you're going to have to deal with? You're going to have to deal with cash flow issues. You're going to have to deal with government audits. You're going to have to deal with employee issues. You're going to have to deal with theft. You're going to have to deal with lawsuits. You're going to have to I had people forge my signature on checks. You're going to have to deal with shit that you've never imagined in dealing. And all this garbage that you see of these celebrity entrepreneurs and they're there with their tuxedos and all that stuff. Good for them. That's not you. And it's going to take you a super long time to get there. So if that's why you want it, you want to drive the fancy car and you want to go to these uppity, shitty type parties, and that's what you think business is, don't waste your time. In the past, yeah, can you potentially make more money owning a business? Yeah, but you can also make more money make good money being an employee. Nowadays, some of the highest paid people in the world are CEOs and presidents and CEOs and CFOs and heads of marketing departments of all these companies. They're not the owners. They don't own Coca-Cola. They don't own Bank of America, or maybe not Bank of America, but they don't own, Royal Bank or TD Bank. They're employees and they make a whack load of money. So if your only reason going into it is to make more money, don't waste your time. It's too easy to quit. You're not going to have enough drive. So what do you need? You need to be a bit nuts. You need to be crazy because you're giving up so much. You're going to have to pay people sometimes when you're not even getting a check. You're going to be stressed. You're going to be... And I'm not trying to defer or make people not want to become a business owner. That's not my objective. I just want people to be educated on what's out there and what the reality is. And I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you give as much advice as I can from, okay, well, how do you get your first little bit of money to get started? Should you keep your job? We're going to go through all this. But in the beginning, if your main objective is to be this big roller, driving a big car and going to these fancy ass parties, don't waste your time. Don't even listen to this podcast because I'm not gonna give you information on how to be some, uppity ass. Like, that's not who I am. I don't even know how to do that. I know how to start a business from nothing, and that's pretty much it. So that's what we're gonna cover. Next, another thing that you have to understand with business, and you see it all the time, you are always going to be the bad guy, no matter what. If there's an employee issue, you're the bad guy. If there's a government issue, you're the bad guy. People are protesting, they're protesting businesses. You're going to end up being a bad guy. You don't have people to back you up like as if you're an employee. If there's, human resource departments, if there's government agencies, you're on your own. So unless you're tough, unless you can take the heat, again, don't waste your time. I know lots of people that make lots of good money that don't own businesses, and they probably have less stress than me. So, again, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm not trying to, deter people. Know what you're getting into, okay? So the next thing is I'm going to get started. And the one thing that pisses me off more than anything is when people come to me with their big fucking ideas. Honestly, your big ideas don't mean shit. They probably suck, and if they don't suck, it doesn't matter. I cannot take one more fucking person telling me that they had the idea for Facebook before Facebook. No shit, you had the idea for Facebook. We all had an idea of some random site where you can, social network with people and chat with people. And there was also, people had a million, Tinder. I had an idea for Tinder before it came out. Good for you, okay? Your big ideas in business, just so you understand, if you have an app idea, you have a web idea, that it's this big thing. Understand two things. One, it's going to cost you a shitload of money to get it started. And two, it needs to be a methodical process. You are not going to invest $5,000 or 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or $50,000 into some product and think you're going to just turn the fucking key and all of a sudden everything's going to be magical and you're just going to be collecting the money. That's not how it goes. That's not how life works. If it did, I would be worth $500 billion right now, but it doesn't. So your big ideas, they're just ideas. Understand it's going to take years and years of work and sacrifice to get to where you need to get. You're going to have to go through rounds and rounds of funding and investing and nurturing, and it's going to take an extremely long time to get there. So you wanting to go into entrepreneurship, into business for an idea, just an idea, and you don't have that drive behind it, you don't have that inside gut, that fight, don't waste your time. You won't make it far enough. Someone else is going to come in and wipe you and steal your idea, and you're going to be, up shit's creek. So big ideas, whatever. And your business doesn't have to be a big idea. Your business could be a service-based personal training. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be this massive idea. And I'm just going to go back to this big idea thing. I think one of the reasons why I am seeing on a daily basis, those of you that don't know, I own a design marketing agency, a web agency. So I see a lot of this. And one of the biggest reasons why I think that so many people are coming to me all the time is because, you're bombarded on the internet by, Shopify's worth this and Tinder's worth that and Snapchat's, that's good for them. That's 1 in 1,000, in 1,000,000 that have been successful. I'm not saying you can't get there, but understand the process of how they got there. Understand everything. I mean, it's not this easy, simple, I'm just going to dump some money into it and that's it. It's a process, it's a business, and you're going to get it from all angles. So again, if you're not deterred, or you're still, I haven't made you afraid of business, let's talk about a bit about how to get started. Like what's the advantages and disadvantages? So I'm going to tell you the advantages of business. The advantages of business is that there's a certain character type of person. There's a certain business aura that certain type of people give off. They just need to be able to move and shake, and they have ideas and they want to go for them. They don't want to sit there and talk about it for 9 months. They want to move. They're excited. The excitement of progress gets you excited. If that gets you excited, if you dream about, I'm gonna have this business, I'm gonna have 2 people, and then I want to expand into this new city, and then I want to do this, and I'm gonna take it step by step. That is the most exciting thing about business. I can tell you one thing for sure. I have set many goals in my life, and I have hit almost every single one of them. And if you're not enjoying that journey, if you don't enjoy that excitement, that process, the goals don't mean shit. Honestly, I've hit goals and I haven't even paid attention. I once bought this a client has gave me this big expensive bottle of champagne, and I left it in the office, and I said, once I hit this benchmark it was a certain type of marketing mandate. I said, once I hit this benchmark for this client, I'm going to pop this bottle of champagne. I hit the benchmark. I forgot about the bottle of champagne. I hit it. I didn't even think about it. I was already on to the next thing. So you have to be an individual that always wants to move forward, that always wants to progress. And that's probably going to be your biggest trait in business, because you have to be resilient, because all you're going to be doing, and especially as you grow, I can tell you, I've been, by myself, and then we've grown offices and grown locations and grown people. The bigger you get, the more people you have, the more clients you have, the majority of your day is spent dealing with shit. That's the majority of your day. And the reason being is when sales go well, clients are happy, progress is there, everything is going well, it doesn't even come to my desk. Why is something going to come to your desk? It's going to come to your desk when shit hits the fan. So you got to be resilient. You got to be, know that this is something that is part of business, and know that you need to get through it. You need to fight through it. Doesn't matter what it is, you have the confidence that you're going to get through it. And I think this is the reason why most people start to fail in business, is that you watch it on TV, you see the fancy cars, you see the ties, you see this, the consultant, all of this, the great haircuts, whatever it is. And then you get into business and you're like, what the fuck did I sign up for? Why is this so hard? What you don't see on those entrepreneurs is all the shit that they had to deal with. The lawsuits, the theft, the threats, the audits, the bankruptcies. You don't see all of that. That's all put away. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I don't want to get into this big political thing, but I've read that Donald Trump has been under audit since the 70s. The 70s. You have people trying to fuck you over for the past 40 freaking 50 years. This is what you have to deal with. So if you don't have that type of toughness, don't bother. Don't waste your time in it. It's too challenging. So again, media is portraying it as one thing. Hey, motivation, this, that, everything's exciting. Everything is all, fancy dinners and people taking pictures of their, bullshit expensive suits and their whatever, crappy vacations. But that's not business. That's entertainment. What you're seeing entertainment. And don't get me wrong, I'm doing this podcast. I kind of like speaking, so there's an aspect of entertainment to it, but I want it to be as realistic as possible. I don't want it to be this over the top horse shit. You follow me and you're gonna be sitting on the beach. So this is kind of the direction of the podcast. This is where we're gonna go. Those of you that don't know enough about me, I started from nothing, zero money, no money from my parents, absolute goose egg. There was a time in our life where my parents had to go on welfare. I didn't have any connections. I didn't have a big education. I had nothing. So, the question is, what did I do to get to the next level? What did I do to have some level of success in business, and what I'm doing going forward? So learn from my mistakes, learn from my successes. But more importantly, the first thing is, don't watch this if entrepreneurship is not for you. And I don't say don't watch it. Maybe it's just going to be entertaining for you because maybe some people find me quasi-entertaining and they're hoping I slip up and say something stupid. But, for the most part, I want entrepreneurs or potential entrepreneurs to watch that. I'm not going to sit here and shoot, hey, these life quotes and all this stuff at you. And yeah, sometimes I put it on my social media page, but this is not what it's about. I'm not here to motivate you. I'm here to give you the reality of business. And if you're like, you know what, fuck that, this is for me, then we're good to go. Then you're going to get a lot out of this thing. And you're going to learn from other people and learn from lawyers and learn from, every type of industry under the map. We're going to have them in here. We're going to question them. We're going to ask them about profit margins and all that type of stuff. So, that's pretty much it for podcast number 1. I'm going to keep it short today. The only reason this one is not live is because we wanted to make sure that the sound is good on it. You're probably going to be watching it on Facebook or on YouTube. It will be on the iTunes store as well as the under the podcast app. It's also going to be in the Android marketplace. Any questions that you guys have, you can direct message me on Facebook. Again, if you're resilient, if you're tough, if you're that 16-year-old kid or you're even that 45-year-old person and you're like, you know what? I can do this. I'm tough. I'm not going to give up. And everything that's coming your way. Because I didn't know shit when I was starting. I thought I knew everything. Now that I'm in business for the past, 10 years, I realize how little I knew. And, I may have had, I had the drive, but I may have had the wrong perception of things would make things harder. Because you start to feel isolated. You feel isolated in the fact that you feel like, why is all this shit happening to me? Like, why am I the one, having to go through all this? In the reality, all entrepreneurs at a certain level are going to have to deal with a lot of challenges. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how to get through those challenges. We're going to talk about how to find great clients. We're going to talk about how to ditch bad clients. We're going to talk about how to diversify your assets. We're going to talk about starting from nothing. Right now, you have $0 in your pocket. Nothing. Goose egg, you're working at the grocery store. This is the podcast you want to watch, because I'm going to tell you how to start, how to get started. I don't sell any books. I'm not trying to sell you guys any programs or any types of shit. I'm doing this because I love giving back, and I'm hoping that, you know, some of the information that I give you guys and girls will potentially benefit your lives. So that's it for podcast number 1. Next podcast, we're going to talk about getting started from scratch. Now that you know what this thing is about, what we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about getting started with $0, what you should be selling, what you shouldn't be selling, and what your expectations should be. People sometimes have these far off expectations and these unrealistic goals right off the bat. So we're going to talk about taking everything one stage at a time, getting out of your comfort zone, you know, manning up and getting out there and doing things that you don't like, but you know what? Sometimes you got to do it to get to the next level. So that's it for podcast number 1. If you have any questions, again, direct message me, and we'll probably do 1 or 2 of these a week for the next little while. And if it takes off, then we'll see. Obviously, this is the first podcast. Like anything in life, things kind of get better as you go at it. We kind of just threw ourselves into it today. We're probably going to get better equipment. So if I'm saying or or all that stuff too much, it's because I'm not really experienced with this thing. So, you know, we'll get better as we go, and we'll take it from there. So thanks so much for listening. Please share. Please like the Facebook page. Please follow me on Instagram or subscribe to the YouTube page. Thanks so much.